Salve, this is Professor Silverblank walking you through the hyperliteral translation of page 1 of the text of Apuleius' Metamorphoses for Latin 102. At ego tibi sermones do Milesio, varias fabulas conceram, auresque tuas benivolas, lepido susoro per mulceam. So we'll stop there to see what that means. But, so this is a conversational and colloquial and kind of abrupt way to begin a narrative, and it should be cluing you into the general conversational quality and storytelling quality that you will find throughout the Metamorphoses. But I, so our subject is I, and then our verb is conceram, and this is a hortatory first-person subjunctive from concero, meaning to sew together. So, but I, allow me to, and that's how I'm translating the hortatory subjunctive more accurately than let me, or I guess, allow me to sew together the various tales for you in that Milesian conversation or mode of speech or speech. And, allow me to per molceam, stroke your tuas aures, your ears, your benivolas aures, your benevolent ears, with a lepido susurru, a charming whisper. So here he's telling you, you as the reader, what he's going to do to your ears with his charming whisper. Morosi papirum Aegyptiam argutia nillotici calami inscriptam, non spreveris inspicere. So modo si, only if, introduces a clause that is called, sometimes in grammar books, a proviso clause. Proviso, a provision. So the provision gives some context that limits the first bit of the sentence. So the first bit of the sentence was saying, let me sew together stories for you, let me stroke your ears with a whisper, provided that, or only if, you should not spurn or scorn to inspicere, to gaze upon, the papirum Aegyptiam, Egyptian papyrus. And what is also agreeing with papirum besides Aegyptiam is this participle, inscriptam. So the Egyptian papyrus inscribed or written with the liveliness, argutia, ablative of manner, of a Nile, or a reed calami of the Nile, nilotiki, adjective meaning of or belonging to the Nile. So that's the kind of pen that he's talking about using. It's both a metaphorical pen as well as drawing attention to the materiality of book making and writing. Okay, so I'm gonna, let me sew those stories for you, let me stroke your ears, provided that you're not going to scorn gazing upon a papyrus like the one I'm using. And so we have more words in this sentence. So, figuras fortunasque, hominum in alias imagines conversas, et in se rorsum mutuo nexo refectas, ut mireres. Okay, so we begin with figuras fortunasque, the figures and fortunes, hominum, of men, genitive plural. Conversas agrees with figuras fortunasque, converted or changed together, or changed is fine, into other forms or images, appearances. And so conversas was agreeing with figuras fortunasque, so is refectas, another participle. So they're converted into other appearances, and refectas, restored back again, rorsum, into themselves, in se, mutuo nexu, in a mutual or reciprocal intertwining, ut mireris. So this is a purpose clause, in order that you can marvel at it. So what are you marveling at? Now we have context for why figuras fortunasque are in the accusative, because they're the object of what you marvel at. So the basic idea of the first sentence, let me sew these stories together, let me stroke your ears, if provided that you're not going to spurn the kind of papyrus, and by extension the kind of story I'm going to tell. And let me do these things so that you may marvel at the figures and fortunes of men who have gone through metamorphoses and back, is the general essence of the first sentence. Whew! Exordior. I begin. Quis ille? Who is he? Or who's that I, we could even say. Who is that man? And this question is referring to who is the man who said, I begin. Who is that man? Paucis accipe. Accipe, receive, in a few implied words. So you're going to learn the answer in a few words. Hymetos Attica, et isthmos Aphiria, et Tainaros Spartiaca, glebae felices, aeternum libris felicioribus conditae. Mea vetus prosapia est. I'll pause there. Okay, so the structure that we have from Hymetos Attica to Tainaros Spartiaca is a pattern where the place names are listed here, Hymetos, Isthmus, and Tainaros, and in front of them are really the proper nouns, the adjectives describing where those sorts of places are. So Attic, Hymetos, and as Finkelpearl points out, Hymetos is a mountain near Athens famous for its honey. So Attic Hymetos and Ephorian Isthmus, or Corinthian, the Corinthian Isthmus, and the Spartan Tainaros, which is a promontory near Sparta, as Finkelpearl helpfully points out. So we've got this list of places, and then after listing them, we get a little more information about them. So they are glebae felices, lucky, and by extension, fertile, clods of earth, and agreeing with glebae, which means bit of soil or lump of earth, is conditae. So preserved for conditae, or we could say put together, in books that are more fertile. So fertile lands eternally, aeternum is an adverbial here, eternally preserved in more fertile books, or even more fertile books. These lands that I've just been describing are my old stock. Or put differently, my old stock is all of the things that came before. So my ancient lineage, we could also say. So the speaker is defining himself in answer to the question, quis ille, in terms of the places and the fertile lands, but also the literary, not afterlives, but the literary lives that those places enjoy. So he's sort of weaving himself into the context of literature. Literature is something that's both lucky and fertile, like the earth itself. Ibi linguam atidem primis poeritiae stipendiis merui. So there, Ibi, in that place, I earned the Attic tongue, meaning Greek, during the first campaigns of my boyhood. Mox in orbe Latia ad vena studiorum queritium indigenam sermonem aerum nabili labore, nullo magistro praeunte, aggressus excoli. Okay, so soon, meaning like soon thereafter, I is the subject of this particular sentence, which we know, unfortunately, late from the verb here, excoli, as well as the participle aggressus. Okay, so soon thereafter in the Latin city, I, as an advena. So this is an apposition to the main subject. An advena is a newcomer. Even though it's feminine, is a noun. So even though it's a feminine noun, it's still describing our masculine subject. A newcomer of the of Latin studies, having attacked, cultivated, or having approached, cultivated the indigenam sermonem, so the indigenous speech, with aerum nobili labore, with calamitous work, nullo magistro praeunte, so this is with not any teacher. Praeo means to go before or lead the way. So this is a present active participle. This is part of a ablative absolute construction, starting with nullo, ending in praeunte. So with no teacher leading the way. That's how I did it. So he tells us that he was a newcomer, both in the city and to the studies themselves, and he taught himself aggressus, having approached the and cultivated the local tongue with great labor without having a teacher lead the way. Eneke praefamor veniam. Oops, okay, so behold. And so he's preparing us, we don't really say behold. So the speaker's preparing us for something he's about to say. It's like, check it out. Praefamor veniam. So praefamor comes from the verb praefor, which means to, in a general sense, to say something beforehand, to say something in advance, to premise something, to say something before you say something. And in this case, it's basically, I request lenience before speaking. Siquid exotici ac forensi sermonis rudis locutor offendero. So if, see, and then we have locutor, which is agreeing with the subject, and the subject is I, which we know from offendero. So if I, as a speaker, so locutor is an apposition to the subject, as a speaker of exotic and outsider crude speech, will have caused any offense. So that's what the quid is doing. Offendero quid. So offendero is in the future perfect, first person singular, and it's in the indicative. So if I will have offended as a speaker, if I will have offended anything or in any way as a speaker of foreign and outsider crude language. So that's what the veniam is that he's seeking. Again, it's about his language. Iam haec equidem ipsa vocis immutatio desultoriae scientiae stilo quem accesimus respondet. Now, indeed, this very change, or the change itself, but it works better if we say this very change of voice, respondet, responds or even corresponds with the stylus of the, or the style of the vaulting knowledge, the style which we have used. So what does that mean? Although the speaker in the previous sentence said, take my apology in advance in case I should offend someone, but now he's making a point about the language that he's using. Now, indeed, this very change itself, the change of voice, responds to or corresponds with the style or the stylus which we accessed, and that style is the style or the stylus of the desultory, which actually, like at the base of that word, has to do with a vaulter. So with a vaulting knowledge. So if you think of of the stylus, and you think of the action that a vaulter uses, the changing and the flipping around is actually, in great coherence with the kind of project that Apuleius, or his speaker, really, Lucius, is setting out upon. Fabulam Graecanicam incipimus. we begin a Grecian tale. Lector intende, laetaberis. So reader, pay attention, you will be delighted. So intende, I translated as pay attention, and that is the imperative of intendo, which literally means extend or reach forward. So you could say, lean in, reader, you will be delighted. And one last long sentence. Thessaliam, namec ilic originis maternae nostrae, fundamenta a Plutarco ilo inclito, ac moc sexto philosopho nepote, eius, prodita gloriam nobis faciunt, eam Thessaliam ex negotio petebam. Okay, so we have this long sentence with these punctuation marks here. And everything outside of the punctuation marks, Thessaliam, eam Thessaliam, ex negotio petebam. So that is the core of the sentence, and then everything within these dashes is a little bit more information about specifically Thessaly. So Thessaliam, to Thessaly. And Thessaliam is in the accusative. We don't know why yet. It could be to Thessaly. It could be accusative of place to which. We don't know yet, but we know that it's in the accusative. Thessaly, for indeed, in that place, the foundations of our, or my, maternal origin, so the family starting point, presumably in Thessaly, the foundations from that famous Plutarch and by his descendant, Sextus the philosopher, prodita, so this word is agreeing with fundamenta, the foundations established by all of those guys that I was just talking about, Plutarch and Sextus. And then we have the core bit of the action. Those foundations make glory for us. Dative of advantage. Okay, so the foundations established by that famous Plutarch, and soon thereafter, Sextus, his philosopher descendant, made glory for us. And now we get to the external frame of the sentence. Eam Thessaliam ex negotio petebam. I was seeking Thessaly, the aforementioned Thessaly, ex negotio, which idiomatically means on business or out of business, but the idea in English really would be more like for business or for the purposes of business. So that's why he was seeking Thessaly for business, but we also learned that his maternal origins are there. And as we go on, we will learn other reasons why Thessaly would be of particular interest for our character, Lucius, who, interestingly, although he's told us about his origins and his linguistic background, has not yet told us his name. Wale!